Hello, preschool parents. Here are our lesson plans for the week of April 13th through April 16th. First off, I hope you guys had a great Easter. I know I did, so hopefully you guys spend some time with family. Last week, you guys were doing a great job at commenting on that Sunday post. So thank you for that. That makes my job a lot easier when you do that. So I just left this reminder up there to just leave a quick comment on that post. So first off, here on Monday. So if we were here at school, going to school, Monday was a planned day off. So I'm kind of just making it a family day. I just put on a couple ideas of some like science experiments you guys could do together. This one's a germ experiment showing you the importance of washing hands and using sanitizer and things like that. This is just a little jelly bean experiment. They're going to predict what might happen to a jelly bean in water. And this little floating dry erase marker looked pretty cool as well. If you don't have time to do a science experiment, that's fine as well. I also put playing a board game, doing a puzzle, creating a book together. That was a preschool favorite of ours in the art center. You know, we'd just get some paper and we'd make up a title and they'd write words and draw pictures. Just some ideas, just spend some time together as a family for Monday. Then on Tuesday, our letter this week is letter Q. Q sometimes is a harder one to learn the sound. Just remind them it says qua, qua, qua. So you can follow that link. There's the song for letter Q. And then there's my video for how to form capital Q. And then they can do a line of the highlighted Q, capital Qs, and then write some capital Qs on their own. Then we have the My Big World Reader. So this was an activity that we did on the first week of break, if you might remember. If you follow this link, it'll take you to the My Big World page, and then you want to sign in as a student, and the password is Casper's. You'll want to find the reader that is called Flower Power. And just read through the reader with your child. You're going to learn about the parts of a plant. And then on the back, there's just a little count and graph activity. On the My Big World website, there's also links to games and other resources that are good as well if you want to check into those. Then the last activity for Tuesday is musical numbers. So we have done this with letters, so it's kind of the same thing. Just take the number cards and put them out on the floor. Play some music. Like when Kinsley and I play this game, like when we do letters, I just do the letter sound song. So for numbers, you can just search on YouTube for counting songs or number songs, play some songs, or just any song is fine too. Have your child walk around the numbers, and when you stop the music, they'll stop on a number that's close to them, and they can indicate what number it is, and they can count up to that number. To make them land on different numbers and not just the same numbers, you can take the number out as they step on it. All right, for Wednesday. So, I went too far. Okay, Wednesday. The first activity is to make a letter memory game. So me and Kinsley made this game at our house. I just used a cardboard box. We've been getting quite a few groceries shipped to our house. So I just took a box and I cut up a bunch of squares. Or you can use paper too. And you want to cut out 52 squares. And so there's a couple different ways you could play letter memory. You can have your child match the capital to the lowercase, or they can just match, like an A with an A, a B with a B, so on and so forth. So first off, cut out the 52 squares. And then on the squares, if you're going to do capital to lowercase, then you'll put, capital A on one, capital B on one, and then lowercase a on one, lowercase b on one, so on and so forth. If you're going to just match, A to A, B to B, then I would do the capital A and lowercase version of both of those letters. So, two squares will have capital A, lowercase a, capital A, lowercase a. And then once you got your game ready, your game pieces ready, just place the cards face down and your child gets to turn over two at a time and try to get a match. If it's too overwhelming to have all the cards out at one time, just lay a few of them out at a time. Maybe lay 10 matches out at a time. Once they get those, then place some more out. Memory was always a fun game that we liked to play in preschool. And the next game is also a preschool favorite. It's called What is Missing? And every unit that we have, we played this game. So we did this with our ball unit as well. So if we were at school, we'd use our recycled items to play this game, but you don't have to. If you do have recycled items, great. You can tie that in there. It could be a grocery bag, a Ziploc bag, paper plate, just things that could be recycled. Place a bunch of those items in a pile. If you don't have recycled items, just grab random. It could be toys, anything. And have your child look at the pile for a couple minutes. Then what you're going to have them do is close their eyes, and you're going to take a piece out of the pile. Then your child can look back at the pile and try to identify which piece is missing. Now, when we did this at school, I'd just take out one piece at a time, but then as the game went on, I'd make it a little more trickier. Sometimes I would take out maybe 2 or 3 pieces, and sometimes I wouldn't take out anything, just to kind of mix it up and make the game last longer. And then the last activity for Wednesday is called Number War. So you can get your number cards and put them in a pile. And this can be played with the whole family. It can be played with you and your child. Anybody can play this. So each person that's playing is going to draw a card. And then I would have your preschool child let me back up a little bit. Everybody will tell what number they drew. So maybe somebody drew a number 3, somebody drew a number 1, and maybe somebody else drew a number 5. But then I would have your preschool child declare who won that war. So the person who wins is the person who has the biggest number. And then that person can keep all of the cards. They can take, all the cards from the person. And then whoever has the most cards at the end wins. To make this game a little bit more tricky, you can just make some new cards by just cutting out some squares on paper or cardboard too, and just write the numbers on them. That way, on our number cards that you got from school, they have the 10 frames, and that can kind of give them a clue like, oh, I can see this one has more dots, this one has less dots. If you just make a blank number card, it just makes it a little bit more tricky, but the number cards would definitely work fine too. All right, on to Thursday. You can do lowercase q on Thursday. Here's the link for the song. Here's the link for my video. Have them do a line of the trace lowercase q's and then a line of their own lowercase q's. Then you can do forming shapes with straws. So you can let your child know that you're going to be working with 2D shapes, and you can ask them if they remember any 2D shapes. You might want to remind them that the 2D shapes are flat. The 2D shapes that we work on in our classroom are just the 4 simple ones: square, triangle, circle, and rectangle. And then you can ask your child to build each of those shapes using straws. If you don't have straws, you could use yarn or the spaghetti like we did last week. Really anything, pencils, markers, they can build it with that as well. And then just to add to this activity, if they kind of flew through it, you can ask them if they remember any of the 3D shapes. And you can remind them that a 3D shapes, they can be stood up and they can roll. And the 3D shapes that we work on in our classroom is a sphere, which is like a ball, a cylinder, which would be the shape of a marker, a cube, which is like a box, or a cone, which is like an ice cream cone. And then you could ask your child if they can find anything in your house that is in the shape of the 3D shapes. And the last activity for Thursday, there I go, went too far again. It's called lining it up. So you can cut out strips of paper from cardboard or paper and make sure the strips are in different lengths. And you can have your child help you cut out if they're able to. After you have a good group of strips that are all different lengths, you can let your child know that they're going to place them in order. And they might place them in order from smallest to biggest or biggest to smallest, however it works. But just place them in line. Remember that they need to line the bottoms up to measure them. To add to this activity, you can also use a ruler or a tape measure to measure the strips. Right before we went on break, we were getting familiar with a ruler, what a ruler was. But if you're going to do that, when you're cutting your strips, make sure you put them at a fold number. So 2 inches, 5 inches, 3 inches. Don't do 2.5 or 2 1/4 or something like that. Just make it a fold number. And we used inches. And I didn't even really teach them what an inch meant. It's just they were indicating what number they seen. So that's just another way to add to that activity. And then just some other ideas. Washing toy dishes. So this can be done outside or inside, maybe like in the bathtub, to make it less messy. Give your child like a tote or a container full of soapy water and let them wash toy dishes. I know Kinsley always wants to help washing dishes, so I thought that activity looked pretty fun for preschool. Another thing that I ran across that I thought would be good for preschool, creating a chore chart or a poster. So this is just an easy example of something, and that's how they're getting rewarded. You wouldn't have to do a money reward. You could do, and maybe they get to choose, no nap time or something like that. I know that's one of Kinsley's favorite things to choose. So that's just another activity. And then another idea is sending thank you cards or posters to hospitals, doctors' offices, police stations, anybody that's really having to be out there working and things like that during these times. Even banks, I know banks and grocery stores, things like that. So just sending thank you cards to those places. And then our letter of the week is Q. Here's our letters that we have learned, and we only have 2 upcoming letters to learn, which are C and I. You guys have a great week, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.